Welcome back to the Strata Automation technical channel. In this video, I'm going to be going over the new graphic building features. This will be sort of a demonstration slash training video, cover how to use a bunch of these new features. And to do that, we're going to build this graphic you see in front of you here. So this graphic here, I've got a background image of a floor plan for a building. I've got half a dozen zone temperatures here. I've got an occupancy status monitor up here, link to go and edit the schedule, an outdoor air temperature gauge, and a few other little bits and pieces scattered throughout here. So the plan is to take this graphic here and then also create one dedicated to set points. So we'll be recreating this graphic here for the set points with the ability to quickly flip back and forth between these two and edit the set points for this office building here. So with that, let's jump over to the graphic builder and get started. So before we start actually building the graphic, I kind of want to go over some of the new things we've added here and some changes to the layout from the old graphic builder to the new one. So over here on the left-hand side, as you're familiar with, we have our graphic library, all of our nice bits and pieces here that we're going to be using. So we've got display values, labels, gauges in here, navigation stuff, shadow images, so our default library that we use to build our automatically built graphics. All of those bits and pieces are in here, labeled according to what they're displaying, whether it's a GIF or an image, they're all somewhere in here in this file structure. And then any custom images I've uploaded using this upload image button up here will also show up down here. You'll see all the different ones, including some of the ones we're going to be using today that I've uploaded. Up here, you can also search if you know the name exactly. You can type in, just enhance display. So you can type in it and use that to search as well, instead of having to find it manually by using the drop downs and scrolling through everything. Up here along the top, I've got some file management stuff. So I've got open that allows me to open an existing file and make changes or delete any of the graphics I have previously built, so I can kind of manage those here. Upload image allows you to upload an image from your computer. Create an image set. This allows you to create image sets. So you can group a bunch of coils together, create a rule set for them, and then reuse it over and over again, rather than having to do it every time. And I'll demonstrate this a little bit later on. But this allows you to create image sets. And then save and save as. So save as allows you to give it a new name and description and save as a different name, whereas save would just save it under the existing name you have here up in the top right. Import and export allows you to import existing graphic files from your computer. Export would allow you to save the graphic file you're currently working on to your computer as either a backup or to use on a different server. Up here on the top, we've got these different layers. So you've got, send to back, bring to front, and just send backward one layer at a time. Bring forward one layer at a time. Some alignment things, you can line things up on the center, horizontal and vertical. Distribute things evenly, so you can distribute things evenly vertically or horizontally. So it allows you to make nice grids if you've got 20 or 30 different play values in here for set points. You can create almost little charts or things by distributing these evenly. And then we've got some edit features. We've got undo and redo, which allows you to go backwards and forwards. If you're making changes and you make a mistake and you want to go back or redo things, copy and paste and delete as well. Then over here on the right-hand side, this is your properties window, and this will change depending on the type of thing I have selected here. So if I bring an enhanced display value out here, you'll see I'll click on it and all these wonderful properties start popping up. The one you'll always have, no matter what you have selected, is canvas properties. So here I can scale the width and height of the canvas, as well as scale the entire canvas, so scale everything on the canvas up or down by whatever factor I choose. And then I can also choose a background image where we will start today. So I'll get rid of this enhanced display value and I'll choose our background image, which for us today is going to be this office floor plan, to match up with that drawing and that floor plan we had in the intro there. So with that, let's start adding some values here and start building this graphic. All right, so first thing we'll tackle here is getting some labels on here. So I'm going to use the drop down here to grab a label. We'll click and drag it out here. You'll see it adds a label here. When I have this selected, my properties will adjust accordingly, so I can manually adjust the X and Y position over here. I can click that little caret icon to get rid of it. Appearance, here it says label. I can change what it actually says. So here we'll make this one the main label for our graphic. We'll say this as unit 7 set points. All right, so you'll see up here, it doesn't actually say that, it just says unit. So to fix that, I'm going to have to manually adjust here my width and height. Will not automatically scale to what you want to fit your text. It'll do it whatever scaling you have put in here. You'll see if I jump this up to 200, you'll see, boom, it jumps up a little bit. Let's say this should be 300. All right, so now we've got plenty of space in there to see all of our characters that we typed in there. I can edit my text alignment so I could have it shift over to whatever side of the box I want. And if I keep typing here, it'll just spill over in the thing. And then I can align it, the top of the box, the bottom center point. However I want to do that. Next here, I have my text style. So what I can do is tweak how big or small my text is. So let's say a label here, I want this to actually be a little bit bigger. So we'll say this should be 40. Hit apply. Go back up here and bump this up a little bit. We'll throw this at 400, perfect, and then we'll bump the height up to say 100. That's plenty big. Center that a little bit better. Next thing I can do here is the border style. So what I'll do is I'll click on that pencil icon, and let's say for the border 4, that's fine. Good. Last thing I want to do here is edit this background color. I'll have to go back to the text style. I just want this to have a white, but actually we'll do transparent. Since the background's white anyway. And then last thing I'd want to do is decide whether or not I want to anchor this. So if I anchor this, you'll notice if I click and drag this, it's not going to move. If I unanchor it, which I don't want to do, but I could move it back around to wherever I want. So anchoring things is kind of like locking it in place, making it so it won't slide around if you accidentally click on it. If you get things placed perfectly, you'll probably want to lock them in so that way you don't move them around. I'm going to minimize that canvas properties as well so I have a little more space to work. All right, so first thing's done. We got a label on our graphic. Perfect. What I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste one of these as well. I'm going to get a second one because I know that I'm going to have to go in here, unlock this one, move it over here. This over here on the right hand side. I'm going to go up here and edit my text because I know this is where I'm going to want it to be my outdoor temperature label. Call outdoor air. Perfect. If I can spell it, that is. All right, outdoor air temp. Perfect. All right, that's the same as that. Perfect. And last thing, so I don't screw it up, we'll go in and lock it in place. All right, so for now, that's good for the labels. There's a few more we'll add later on, but for now, that's perfect. Next thing I'm going to want to add here are my enhanced display values here. So going back to our reference over here, you'll see I've got 4 different set points here based on the controllers in my building. So that's perfectly fine. What I'll do here, I'll go out and add 1. We got 2 down here. We got 3 over here in the cubicle area or the collaboration area. And then we've got another one down here in the meeting room. All right, one I'll center it over here. Perfect. Okay, so now we've got display objects here. If I highlight one of these, you'll see I have one enhanced display object selected. I've got that same position when I can edit, so I could kick them over using the X and Y coordinate system. the appearance, so I can change the label on here. I'll want to go and edit each of these labels individually, so I'll click on each one and change their name. Once I'm done explaining some of the other properties here, I've got individual width and height for each of these as well. Show label and show unit. So if I change this, you'll see on this one, it just has a number. So you can kind of change how the data is going to be displayed. Same text alignment stuff, text style, border style, all that same stuff that we saw with the label. And then here's where things start to get a little interesting or a little different from the previous ones. So I have conditional formatting. So what this allows me to do is change how this displays or what it displays based on the value that it's reading from the point on my controller. So what we're using this for on our other graphic is to, let's pull that one up. So over here on my other graphic, you'll see I'm using this to kind of do a color temperature thing here. So I've got the lobby is 65.8 degrees, so it's just blue because it's a little cold in there, whereas the lounge over here, 76.2, it's a little warm, it's displaying in red. As a quick indicator that, hey, it's a little warm. Green means good, and then blue is a little cold. So how we do that is with this rule set here. So if let me save this one quick and I'll pull that one. So we'll save this as unit 107 yellow. Open up that other graphic I have. Again, I just went to open and then selected the file. You'll see I've got all these built. If I click on one of these here, this rule set here is what I built and wrote for these. So for this one here, you'll see, if you click this drop down up here at the top, it's pretty helpful. It gives you kind of rundown of how to set your syntax, what to use for your variables, so either X or value, and then some other words you can use in there to get things to be formatted correctly so your rules actually function as intended. So you've got a couple different expression examples here that you can use. So you've got, you set your value in between and or operators, equals, all that kind of stuff in here as well. So I'm not going to take a look at this before you start building some rules, but we'll go over the rules I built here. You can also do sample rules. So if I bring another one out here, go in here, create sample rules. You can have it build a sample rule to kind of get a sense of what it might look like for, say, you'll see green, yellow, red. For these ones here, it's got to be your value is greater than 0 but less than 25. Means green, good to go. Between 25 and 75. Yellow, you're kind of getting in the warning area, and then above 75 is red. That means there's something wrong. So that you can use that sample rule as well there to kind of understand. I'm getting another example, but for this one here, what I've done is saying that if my temperature is less than 66 degrees, I'm changing the background color here to be blue. Not changing anything about the font, just the background color. I'm not adding an override text here. So if I were to add an override text, I could, instead of the temperature, I could add even another one here to say if it was below, say, 62, that, hey, something is actually wrong. I could display this blue and with override text saying too cold, call someone or something. You can add an override text that will display. You can see that sample text in there, what that would display. The second rule I have here is between 66 and 76, kind of it's a sweet spot, if you want to call it that. That means, all right, everything's fine. We're within what we can expect for the temperatures in that area. So the background should be green to signify that we're good. And then if we're above 76 degrees here, my value is greater than 76, I want the background text to be red to say, hey, it's too hot in here. Either lower the set point or there's a lot of people in here and we need to adjust the set point accordingly. And then with all that here, you can enter a test value to see what is going to happen. So if I enter a test value of, say, 70, test, we'll see, 70 matches rule 1, highest priority will be applied. And a test value of, say, 80, highest priority rule will be applied. So that's, you can add test values and kind of test your rule in here. Or what I like to do is go in here and add a test value right here instead. So I can change the test value just for this one here. So if I go in here and put in 60, you'll see it's too cold. If I go in my sweet spot, so say 70, say it changes to green, letting me know that's good. Or if I pump it up to 80, you'll see that one changes red. So this rule defining here allows you to change how and what is being displayed after, it reads the value and then determines how or what should be displayed based on the rule set that you've created. So pretty cool, allows you to do some things like this, or obviously even more involved things if your rule sets get pretty involved, and you can add a bunch of different rules and kind of tweak things based on the data you're going to be reading and what you're trying to control or demonstrate or show. And then you got the other test ones down here, again, depending on if it was a flag that you wanted to test, if a point goes into alarm or service or is shorted out or something and there's a fault, you could also have it do something like that or display, hey, this temperature sensor went into fault. So instead of displaying the last temperature, I could display a big thing that says, hey, temperature fault, call XYZ. Next thing you'll see on here is the binding, but for that, I'm going to open back up this other one, save my changes. We'll go back to our demo here. So for this one here, object references is where you tell it which point on your network you want to look at. So you can either punch in the object ID and device instance, or you can just punch in the object ID. So what this allows you to do is either, if you just have an object ID in there, sort of relativizes your graphic so that no matter what controller you're looking at in the tree, it will try to find that point for that controller. Whereas if I put a specific device instance in here, no matter which graphic or which controller I have selected in the tree, whenever I pull this graphic up, it's going to ignore that. It doesn't care which controller I have selected in my tree. It's going to always go to whatever device instance I have written in here, and then look for the object ID from that controller I've written instead of the one I just have selected in my tree. So it kind of allows you to have an absolute or relativized graphic. If you don't want to punch this in here, you can also click the three dots over here, which you might be familiar with our old graphic. I use this quite a lot, this kind of style of things. So instead of punching things in, you can actually just kind of search for points on your network. So let's say I don't know the actual object ID off the top of my head, but I know it's a set point. Call it set point. Punch in set point here, and okay, it's going to go and find all the temperatures or points that have this set point in the description. I can either make it absolute or relativized again from here. So if I don't know exactly which controller I want to grab it for, I want to create a graphic for multiple controllers, I would uncheck this and then just look for a like controller, with the same point list, and select that one from there. But for mine here, I know that on all these here, for a lot of these, the set point here is going to be AV42. So for this one here, we'll go AV42 for a set point from our VAV. And then for this one up here, specifically, I'm looking at 213048 is the controller. And then from there, I can anchor it if I would like to. Another thing that you can do to make your life a little bit easier is you'll see on this other graphic that I had created, I had the same rule apply to all of these. They were not the set points, they were just the regular temperatures. But if I wanted to apply a rule to all these rather than having to do it multiple times, if I just highlight and select all of these, you'll see I have 4 elements selected. What this is going to do is display all the properties that are like. So obviously with the position here, it's going to say, hey, these are mixed values. You probably don't want to mess with these. Otherwise, you're going to overwrite and set them all the same. But for things like the label here, you can change all the labels to be the same, all the width and height, so you can kind of mass edit them. So if I, let's change the width from 200 to 180, you'll see they all change size accordingly. If I want to get rid of the units on all of them, I can do that. Change all the text and border style formatting, conditional formatting. So this is where I could add a rule to apply to all of them. So that's what I did on the other graphic, is I just did it on, I had all of them selected when I created my rule. That way it applied the rule to all of these. I didn't have to go in and do it more than once. And then with the object reference, you probably wouldn't want to do that on this one when you have multiple selected, but it's going to let you know anytime you have more than one thing selected, if the properties don't match up 100%, it's going to say, hey, there's some differences in here. You might want to be careful when making changes. So you don't accidentally, create a bunch of these, have more than one selected, and then override it. And then when you go to look at your graph, you go, why am I displaying the same value 15 times when I just got done setting them all up? So there are some kind of warnings and protections in here to try to make it keep you from making mistakes or canceling out some of the work you've done. So over this one here, we've got AB42. I want this label to be lobby set point. Call lobby STP. And so what I'm going to do now is do that same thing for all these, and then we'll jump back in when I've got all those set up. All right, next thing we're going to add here is that outdoor air temperature gauge. So I'm going to click and drag a temperature gauge out here, or just a gauge, I guess it is. So I'll select it. You'll see I have linear gauge selected. Again, I can edit the position manually. Appearance-wise, you got width, height, all other stuff down here, min and max value. So for a temperature here, we'll just use 0 to 100. Test value, we'll save that. That's just the display value you're going to have on here for your demo graphic. Orientation, I want this one to be vertical, but you can do whatever you'd like here. And then I want my width and height, we'll make this 200 wide and go 1200. 1200. All right. Let's see, vertical line width, we'll bump this up a little bit. We'll say we want this to be 60. Line color, you are stuck with one line color for now, unless you later on, when we add conditional formatting for the rules, you could change that, so you could have the color show or change based on what you have the actual value being. Show ticks, yes, tick count, we'll say every 10 degrees is fine. It's not too precise, it's just to get a general idea of what's going on. And then down here, text style for the font, let's bump the font up to 30. Hit apply, so a little bit bigger. Border style, that's fine. And then what value we want to reference here is going to be AV29 from one of our controllers. So we'll do AV29 from 213001. And we'll anchor this in place. All right, so now go ahead and save this. We've got our temperature gauge here. We'll do a test value. So let's say when it's 21 degrees, you see, okay, jumps up to 21, perfect. All the way to 100, taking its sweet time, but it's showing, okay. So that one's working great. Now, next thing we can do on here is add a couple more things. So what I want to add here is a navigation area. Now what this is more or less just a link that allows you to change quickly between different graphics for the device you have selected. So enter a label here. Let's say I want this one. Since we're working on the set point one here, I want a quick link to jump back to see the temperatures again. So we'll say office temperatures. Okay. And we'll make this a little bit smaller. I'll do 300 by 100. Text, let's make this a little bigger. Let's bump this up to 30. And then the background color, I want white, sticks out a little bit more. Border style, that's fine. Binding, so you'll see a navigation target. This is where we want this to point to. So what we're going to do is point this back to unit 107, which is just showing the temperatures instead of having all the set points on here. And then we'll anchor that in place. Go ahead and hit save. So now they click on this in the graphic, it'll take them back to that other graphic that shows all of the temperatures. Next thing we've got to tackle here is that occupancy indicator. So what I'm going to do for that is I'm going to create an image set. It might not necessarily be the fastest way to do it with just 2 images for occupied and unoccupied, but I just want to demonstrate how to use this tool here. So We'll call this sun, moon for the images I'm going to use. Moon for nighttime and sun for daytime here. PNG is the best format. That's what we recommend. If you're not using PNG, your results may vary here. And then also we recommend that your image sizes be the same. You'll see here I've made sure that my two different images here in my image set are the same size. So they're both 160 by 160 pixels. And then if I want to preview the ones I've selected, I can see variant 1 and variant 2. So variants are how they, this file format or whatever is delineates the different images you have selected. So here, I'll create this image set. It's going to save one as well to my computer. And then if I go down here, you'll see if I mouse over the image set here, you'll see it'll flash between the different ones in the different variants in that set. So now if I want to use this as my indicator for occupancy, what I can do is click and drag one out here. And then over here on the right-hand side, I don't want to really mess with any of these other settings, except for the display rules and then my binding. So what I'll do here, display rules, select which variant I want to display or which rule I want to create one for. So I want to create a rule for variant 1 and variant 2. So what I'm going to do here for variant 1, when my variable x is equal to 0, so for my binary value that I'm going to use for occupancy, just 0 or 1. So for on, then it's going to be x equal to 1. And I can test that here just as a kind of a BS check here. I can test 0, matches variant 1, 1, test it, variant 2, excellent. So then what I'm going to want to do, I've already got that rule created, test value, that's not what I'm going to use here. Change this to 0. You'll see that gets rid of that error exclamation point that was on there. So you'll see test value of 0, test value of 1. Over here, I can scale it so I can make it, huge or tiny to fit my graphic better. So we'll make it a little bit smaller, get it moved up here. And then for the object ID, I know I want to use BV5 from 213001. That's my occupancy point. For the controller I'm using for occupancy here, I can anchor it read only and link to a URL so I could have it linked to wherever I'd like to go. So there's my occupancy indicator. And then last thing I'm going to add here is this schedule icon here. I'm going to scale it down a little bit so it fits. We'll bring that guy up here. And then you'll see I got the image source up here. The one thing I want to add here is a link to URL. So I want to have a quick link for my end user to jump over and edit the schedule if they need to. So what I'll do, throw in here is the link for that HTTPS / my IP address or wherever I want to send this /pound/scheduler. All right. And then we'll go up here and hit save. Now what we're going to do is hop over to my actual server here for unit 107. And then I've got this graphic pulled up here. You see I've got that occupancy indicator up here on the top left working. And then if I click on this link up here, it'll take me right over to the scheduler. I've got set points here. If I click on that one, it's going to take me back to the actual temperatures in the zone here. All the same stuff. Didn't go and add these labels just to save some time here, but it's the same process as I did for these ones here. I just got rid of the border, made the text a little smaller. If I hit that back, it'll take me back to the graphic I was looking at before. So here, if I click on one of these, because I left these as writable, I didn't make them read only. I can edit my set points here. So if I want to crank this one up, let's say it was cold in there. Let's bump you up to 78 to get that heat ripping in there. And then over here, I noticed that my kitchen or my lounge area was a little warm. So we'll go back here and we'll drop this even lower than 68. We'll drop you down to say 65, as low as you can go, to try to get some cool air going in there. So that's a fairly simple example for these graphics here. But that kind of highlights all of the new features or changes that we've made. So if you were familiar with the old graphic features, this is a lot more flexible. You can do a lot more with all these properties over here, and we're going to be adding more over time, give you even more flexibility. But for now, this highlights pretty much all the main different features here. You've got your enhanced display values, you've got different labels, image sets you can create like you saw up here for the occupancy one. All these different rules you can create to change how things are displayed based on the value that you're reading for that point. You've got all these gauges you can add in here. So this is kind of where we're headed. But this video here was kind of just not only it's supposed to be a demo to show these new features, but also kind of act as a supplemental training thing so you can kind of follow along with a controller or two on your network, get a floor plan on there, and just build this sample graphic so you get familiar with all of these different tools here. I'd say the only things I didn't use up here are some of these alignment ones. But, if I drag this over here, if I select these two, I can send them all the way to the back, or I can bring them all the way forward. I don't have many things layered here because this image is a background image, so it's all the way at the back. You can't get anything behind it. But if I were to stack this on top here, see if I send this to the back, that thing comes forward and so on. And then I can align things, horizontally. I can center them all on there. I can move them. I can distribute them evenly based on their top left corner. So there's a couple different things you can do, but I would say this is the majority of the features. So that's going to be all for this video. So thanks for watching and have a great day.